And welcome to a very special event, the launch event, the live launch event of the Character Creator Workshop, my latest workshop where you'll be learning all about the process that I use on a daily basis to create comic book characters for clients, for my own comic books. And the cool thing about it is that it's super consistent. So you can follow along with this process as well and use it to give your characters the best chance of success each and every time. But before I get to that, for those out there who don't already know, uh, I've actually taught at multiple universities and worked for many clients. I've mentored, and in each of these areas, I've been called upon to use my abilities as a character artist to both demonstrate and execute professional looking character designs. And it could be anything from comic books to video games. It could just be plain old character illustrations, whatever context it is that you want to use your characters in. Uh, not only have I been trained other people and got the experience to give you the techniques and the advice to be able to do that, but I'm also well versed in actually breaking it down and teaching it to others in a way in which they can replicate. So, I guess I should start out by saying as well that if you are interested in leveling up your comic art, your character drawing abilities, then be sure to hit the link in the chat that I pinned to the top because that's going to take you to the Character Creator Workshop page. And uh, there's only 9 spots available, so there's not that many. They're quite limited because I like to keep these workshops super tight knit so that I can pay extra attention to everybody who is a part of it, make sure that they fully understand exactly what it is I'm teaching them and how to implement it in order to get real results, to see real improvement within their work. But I also can't really allow for more than 10 people in our lives. Well, more than 9 people, including myself as the extra that makes the 10. Uh, I can't allow for more than that during these live sessions because the platform that I use, Restream here, simply won't allow for any more than that. And so, yeah, this character creation workshop is live. It's interactive. I'll be there teaching you real time, and as I do, ideally, what you'll be executing on the page in front of you is the precise steps in which I am demonstrating the character creation process. And the best part about it, the one thing that I think truly separates the Character Creator Workshop from any course or book that you'll find out there, is that you can ask me questions. I can give you feedback. At this point in my career as both a teacher, an artist, I've worked on an editor on different comic book titles. So I've seen just about every which way a character can go wrong when you set out to illustrate it. I've seen all the problems that arise, and I've had to have the ability to be able to solve them, to come up with solutions for them in order to progress and move past whether it's whatever challenge I've been presented with, whether it's my own challenges as a character artist or a student's or somebody that I'm actually coaching for one reason or another. Again, it could be an artist on a comic book where I've been assigned to be the editor, or it could be somebody that I'm mentoring. And this live interaction, this ability to be able to look at someone's work and tell them exactly what they've got going for it, what's working, but also what's not working so well, what could be improved upon, is, I think, the most effective way to learn. Simply because uh, you could watch all the courses and read all the books in the world about this topic, and yet not be able to progress past the individual, the unique challenges that you're facing, because the course and the books don't know that. The only way in which you are going to be able to move past them to make that real progress with the knowledge that you're getting is if the instructor has the ability to, and the keen eye. It takes a very careful eye to be able to spot mistakes, to be able to guide you in the right direction, to be able to pick up on the things that are completely invisible to you as a beginner or even an intermediate. In fact, there are still things that I don't see within my comic book characters that other people pick up on. Just having that fresh perspective, but especially one that is professional, that is experienced, that's what's going to make all the difference. And it just seems that within the domain of drawing comic books, we don't have a whole lot of that. There's not a lot of options that are available. It's one of the reasons that I made the mentoring available on howtodrawcomics.net, again, just recently, but also why I think these workshops are really the way of the future when it comes to online education. I want to say a really big hello to everybody who's joining us for this very special occasion, the launch of the Character Creator Workshop, which, by the way, you can access via the link pinned to the top of the chat there. Hopefully, you can see it. If there are some moderators in the chat, then please feel free to post it up and remind people that if they feel like this is something that could really level up their character drawing abilities, to at least check out the landing page, read through the details, and if it sounds like something that might benefit you, then you know don't wait on this opportunity, because there's a very good chance you will miss out. Again, there's only 9 spots in the workshop, and I know it's not that many, and I wish that I could uh, expand it in order to make it available to more people. Because of course with something like this, we do want to take the time to think about it, to figure out if it's really for us, and that's one of the reasons as to why I'm doing this live stream specifically on the launch, because I know it sells out quickly, and you're going to want that additional information. You're going to want to ask me questions about what you can expect to get out of this character creation workshop. Just to give you a little bit of background on the workshops that I've ran in the past, and I've run multiple editions of the drawing heads and faces workshop. It was huge. It was much bigger than I thought it would be, and that's why for this character creation workshop, what you're being presented with, what you're going to be getting, is almost full days. So 3 days, and each day you'll be spending 4 to 6 hours with me uh, in a uh, intensive learning uh, environment. And again, you'll be learning not just from me, but the other n- 9 people that have also decided to come on board and do the character creator workshop. So that, for me, is one of the coolest parts about it too, is that you're essentially multiplying the amount to which you're able to learn. You're expanding upon your ability to learn, which is absolutely incredible. You're learning from the mistakes of your peers. You're seeing the solutions that are being given to them to help them pass those challenges. And you can use them, of course, for the very same challenges that you're coming up against yourself. You may very well be coming up against the same obstacles. So it's just like learning on steroids. That's how I feel about these workshops. But as I said, the Heads and Faces workshop, very successful, sold out each and every time. And I still talk with many of the people who decided to jump in to the Heads and Faces workshop. Some of them are the regular people that I mentor, on a month to month basis, which is just amazing. It's amazing to be able to have created those relationships, to have been able to get to know these aspiring artists who are driven enough to make the investment into developing their skill set. It's inspiring for me to see, but also I'm just glad that I'm able to be of some kind of service. I was just talking to my lovely partner Erica before, and remembering some of the experiences I've had with these workshops, being the launch of a new one. And uh, I said to her that it's crazy because for me, I wouldn't know that I was making a difference to anybody if they didn't tell me about it. I'm just trying to express and pass on what I know in the most simple, easy to apply way possible. And oftentimes there's a lot of information that I'm giving, but I try to give it in a way that is actionable, that in a way that you can use for your own drawings. And I wouldn't know that it was effective at all if people didn't tell me about it. So I kind of take myself for granted a little bit in that way sometimes, and I need that little push to actually get workshop programs like this underway. And I really want to thank the amazing past students that encouraged me to do that, and also my aforementioned lovely lady, because I do think that it makes a difference. And I know that people appreciate and value that knowledge. And I also realize that there's not a whole lot of these kind of learning experiences available out there. I mean, I should know because I was I was doing research to try and find examples of other people who had ran character creation workshops before, specifically for comic books. And there's just, if there's any at all, it's a very, very few. So I want to make this the one for you. If that's what you're interested in learning, I want this to be the character creation workshop, the thing that makes all the difference in the world to allow you to be able to start seeing progress. And listen, maybe you're already pretty darn good at drawing comic book characters. Maybe you're like me and you've got years of experience behind you. I still think that this is going to be extremely valuable to you. And the reason as to why I say that is because there have been many times, and I've seen it over and over again with other artists who are intermediate to advanced, who hit a plateau where they've got to a certain point within their development, and they don't know where to go next. They don't know what the next step is. They don't know what to improve upon. And there's a certain level of apathy and boredom that sets in as well, because us artists, we love a challenge. We love to tackle some new area within our process that needs work, that could do with a little evolution. And at a certain level, when you've been doing this for long enough, it's easy for a beginner. You know exactly what to focus on. It's a no-brainer. Proportions, anatomy, gesture, figure drawing, that kind of thing. And it takes a while to figure all that stuff out and to get good at that. And we do cover it in the character creation workshop, character creator workshop, just for those who are curious as to whether or not we're going to be covering that foundational stuff. But, at a more advanced level, you can really quickly find yourself in a place where you're just not sure how to proceed beyond the point at which you're at. And you start to stagnate a little bit. You start to create problems that aren't even there. And that's possibly the worst route to go down. Only to realize, damn, I had it worked out already. I didn't need to do all that stuff. I didn't need to cause myself that needless stress. I just needed to figure out the right way to grow. And so what a workshop like this can do, where you've got someone with experience behind them who can spot out the areas, the opportunities for you to grow, this is perfect for an artist of that caliber to jump in and to have that extra set of eyes on their work, to be able to get them to that next level that they've been trying to figure out how to get to. And for us artists, it's a lonely journey. It's one of solitude. It's not like we all have the gift of being able to sit in a studio and draw alongside other really talented artists. No, most of us are sitting at home in our own little studio, completely alone, with no one to really bounce our ideas off of, with no one to ask for feedback, to ask for direction, guidance, to ask, what could we be doing better? What's wrong with my work? Sometimes we see that there's something wrong and there's just no one there to give you that clarity. And sure, you could post it online, but how often does your work go unnoticed, completely unnoticed, with all the noise that's out there on social media? What chance do you have of your work actually getting a valid, insightful critique that you can use, that you can take forward with you, that'll allow you to be able to evolve to get to that next level? It happens, but it's kind of rare, even for those of us who have a decent following. Let me go through some of the comments here because part of the reason I wanted to do this live event is to answer your questions, to say hello, to just touch base as well. It's been a while since I've done one of these lives. So, all right. We've got Jay Desolate Studios in the house. Good to see you, my friend. We've got It's the Jester. I'm new. Hi, what's been going on? Hey, good to see you and welcome. If you've never seen me on a live stream before, it's probably because I'm streaming at a very uh, different time to what I normally stream. This isn't my usual schedule, but it's the time at which I've chosen the character creator workshop to launch. So that's why I'm here. It's good to meet you, and I'm glad you made it. We've got Bellandor. Good to see you, my friends. Hail, Barton in the chat. Rick Bulow. Good to see you, long-time friend of howtodrawcomics.net. Uh, Rick Bulow says, can only recommend learning from Clayton. He is one of the best teachers out there, well worth the money to get him as a mentor and teacher. Thank you so much, Rick. I really do appreciate that. Ultras, happy to learn about this. A good opportunity to learn a lot. Absolutely. Ali. She says that my new camera setup makes her feel seasick. I'm sorry to hear that. That's very unfortunate. Taroya Hollis, good to see you in the chat there. Where's my brother? He's asleep right now. It's actually 12:30 a.m. in my little part of the world. Yeah. Yeah, we've got lots of wonderful people here. Duck Bacon, good to see you. So again, hit the link that I pinned in the chat there if you'd like to check out the landing page for the character creator workshop. There's a ton of info there, and one of the things specifically that I talk about on the landing page is the one thing that I truly do believe will make all the difference when it comes to really seeing significant progress in the quality of your character drawings. And it's that individualized feedback that's tailored to you and where you're at as an artist. It's me meeting you where you are at. So I'm going to give you the process, and that's what you're going to get from almost any course or book out there. I'm going to give you the process, the step-by-step process, break it down and explain it to you in detail. But listen, when I was in the classroom doing the same thing for students year after year, the method wasn't enough. They needed me to hold them by the hand and give them that one-on-one guidance. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten it. And many of you know that I worked with Corey on a comic book last year for a and the year before, probably for a very long time. We were working on that together. And we worked very closely. Both grew as artists thanks to one another uh, giving each other feedback. And I really tried my best to make sure that I was passing down what I had learned because I'm a little bit older, had a little bit more experience than Corey, but what I learned in terms of character creation. And there's a few YouTube videos actually right here on the How to Draw Comics channel that you can check out where I'm giving Corey these tips and tricks real time. And in fact, I'm going to be uploading a few more videos like that, just recordings that I've done of the different mentoring sessions I've been given the great privilege to hold with some incredibly talented artists out there who just need that clarity on where to take their work next. And I'm going to post them up because there's some really great lessons and content that we cover. Of course, they're more than happy for me to share that stuff with the rest of the world because look, I think that at the end of the day, we can learn these lessons for ourselves and we can grow from them and we can see the benefits from doing so. But I think one of the best things that we can do with our art and our experience is pass it on to other people. You know, when we've figured it out, a piece of the puzzle, to be able to hand that off to somebody else who needs it, there's nothing that makes you feel more fulfilled as an artist. I mean, that's why I'm teaching this stuff. I wouldn't be here doing it otherwise. I'd be just working on my own comic books in silence, not sharing my secrets with anybody. But, howtodrawcomics.net has given me a great opportunity to reach out to artists across the entire world, to network with them, to engage with them, and to figure out what it is they need the most help with. You know, one of the questions we ask anybody who joins the howtodrawcomics.net group on Facebook before they join is, what's your greatest challenge that you're facing right now with your art? And so often the answers we get from that are proportions, anatomy, drawing faces, drawing bodies, drawing poses. And so that's one of the reasons as to why I decided to make my next workshop focused on drawing comic book characters because I feel like it's going to encompass a lot of those challenges that artists on all level face on a daily basis because characters are the primary vehicle that we use to tell a story. You can't have a comic book without characters. In fact, e- even beyond comic books, unless it's a landscape painting or illustration, you're going to probably have to have the ability to draw humanoid characters well. If you don't understand proportions, if you don't have a grasp on anatomy, and even if you do, if you can't really represent that with energy and visual appeal, then it's just not going to leave the impact that you're hoping it'll leave. One of the reasons as to why I'm a comic book artist till this day is because I was inspired by the incredible artists of the 90s image era. People like Mark Silvestri, David Finch, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Michael Turner as well. You know, these artists were just absolutely mind blowing. The way in which they depicted the human form and were able to pose it, to maneuver it with such energy, with such action, to draw you into these comic books on a level of immersion that had never been seen before. One of my main goals growing up was to somehow get my artwork to that very same level. And I didn't want to work at a big comic book studio or anything like that. I just wanted to create my own comic books, but they needed to look good. They needed to look as epic as possible so that I could sell enough copies of my comic books to keep on making them. And that's arguably still one of my goals till this day. But again, balancing that out with my other big passion, which is how to draw comics.net. I can't have one without the other. The brilliant thing is that with all this teaching that I do in the comic art arena, I learn tons myself. I'm having to solve and come up with solutions for problems that I may have faced in the past, but it's almost like you get different flavors of the same problem. And so each of these nuanced issues require slightly different solutions each and every time. And it just, man, it sharpens your sword as an artist when you're able to be constantly bombarded with these little challenges, sometimes big challenges that require you to step up, that ask for you to take it to a whole new level of not just ability, but knowledge, and then being able to convey that in a way that other artists understand. I was never good at public speaking. I hated public speaking. Found it very difficult to articulate myself growing up. And so when I was standing in front of a classroom full of 20 to 30 students on the regular, man, talk about trials and tribulations. I was super awkward in the beginning. I'm still a little bit awkward most times. I was shy. I didn't know the first thing about teaching, to be honest with you. I kind of fell into this teaching gig. One of the teachers at the time was leaving the course that I just graduated from. And for some reason or another, he thought that I was up for the job of replacing him. And so, luckily, I got into a subject that I really loved, that I was good at, that I developed a process for character design. And yeah, then it was just a case of getting over the nerves of being in front of a classroom full of that many people. But as I said, it wasn't just a matter of conveying that process to the students. What I needed to do was sit down with them individually and make sure they really got it. And you'd be surprised how many ways you can misinterpret knowledge, how many ways you could get knowledge and then mess up the process. Even when you've got all the guidelines in the world to follow, you can still fall off track. If you've got someone there to make sure you stay on the path that has been set for you, to know exactly what it is you need to do and how to apply it, then you're on the home run. That's how you're going to maximize that knowledge that you're gathering. One of the key things that often comes up when it comes to the people that I mentor, one of the biggest problems that they face is the issue of having too much knowledge. Okay, they've done study after study, filled their sketchbooks up with anatomies, different anatomy examples, poses, gestures. It basically, they've got art books full of figure drawings and brilliantly executed diagrams of the human body. And that's all good and well, but it's not drawing comic book characters in the context of what they're supposed to be used for. And so, although they're very, very good at anatomy, they're great. The fundamentals are sorted for them. They've got all the knowledge that they need to move forward, and yet they haven't drawn a single actual illustration. They haven't done anything with that knowledge. They know how to use it. They know how to execute it, but they haven't done anything with it yet. Okay, they haven't drawn a fully fledged comic book character illustration with all that knowledge. And so sometimes, even with knowledge, it can be scary to take the plunge and use it for what it was meant for. And then you're faced with a whole set of new problems, creative problems, where now you need to use your imagination. Now you need to come up with original compositions. Now it's not just a case of copying out an anatomy diagram and figuring out where all the muscles go. No, now you're actually creating. And you'd be surprised at how commonly this comes up when it comes to the people that I'm mentoring. And so the kind of assignments that I end up setting them are, all right, over the next few weeks, what we're going to work on, because you've got the knowledge sorted, buddy. You know anatomy, you know proportions, you're ready. Okay. The next way in which you're going to challenge yourself and grow is by creating a character sheet or creating a sequential comic book page featuring your character within it. Is by actually creating a character with all of this understanding of anatomy and figure drawing that you've gained over the course of months, maybe even years. So they can draw really well, but as far as being able to get commissions, sell their services as an illustrator, very little experience. And that's a whole different ball game. Okay. It's much, much harder. It's the next level. Really the fundamentals. If you spent a week on each one, let's give it a month. Let's say you spent an entire month on anatomy. You took a week to get arms completely down, and then torsos, and then legs, and you just went through it one by one. You get the proportions sorted. That's probably should come first. You get the proportions sorted, then you get the anatomy sorted the next month, and you work your way up. You're working with gesture, posing your characters. Within 6 months, you can have, with dedicated practice and attention, you can have the fundamentals sorted. Okay, you can understand exactly what goes into a well structured foundation for your character. But then you need to do something with it. And that's the lifelong journey, my friend. And it's something that I'm going to be getting very deep into within this character creator workshop. Because at a certain point, you want to start to break those fundamental rules. Not break them, but bend them to your desire. You want to make them work for you, remembering that they were only there as tools to help you get out of strife when things started to go wrong. They were only there to give your characters the best chance of success possible. But then you've got to go with your own artistic intuition. And if you haven't developed that, if you don't know how to develop, if you don't know how to cultivate a style that's unique and recognizable to you, if the energy within your characters aren't present, you're going to have a very well structured, flat, lifeless, perfect diagram of a character instead of one that looks alive. These are the nuanced points of attention that I want to bring forth to you when it comes to character creation. And ultimately, this workshop that I'm making available to you today, which again, click the link that I have pinned to the comment section if you'd like to check it out. And mods in the chat, please do continue posting that link because I want to make sure nobody misses out on this. It's very important that people get in on it if it's something that interests them at all, if it's something that they want to be a part of. All right, chat, how you doing? Let's take a look here. Grey Wolf says, I published my first graphic novel several months ago on Amazon, but I know I can do much better on this second project. Absolutely. All it takes is building up that experience, getting the mileage behind you in order to continuously make progress as in terms of the evolution of your art. There's no way in which you can improve without experience. That because it's as if you're doing nothing otherwise. If you take no action, then you can't get any results. You can't progress any further. So it's continual action over time that is going to lead to the kind of success that you're looking for, the kind of artwork that you always dreamed of creating. Okay, J Desolate Soul Studios says, how long are the courses? Do you mentor throughout the week and afterwards? So there's a few special bonuses that I'm including with the Character Creator Workshop, and they're definitely worth pointing out here because, in a sense, yes, you do get that continual feedback. The reason that I say that is when you decide to join the Character Creator Workshop today, you'll get my proportions course, you'll get my superheroines course, which takes you through gives you an entire overview, really, an in-depth presentation on exactly how the character creation workflow unfolds, both for drawing, inking, and coloring a comic book character concept. But then, probably the most valuable bonus that I'm giving you in the Character Creator Workshop is access to the How to Draw Comics Inner Circle Facebook group, which is full of the most motivated How to Draw Comics students that are driven to get better, driven to succeed, that are helping one another, constantly push themselves and get to ever greater heights. Obviously, you have access to me on there, and oftentimes, what Ed Foychuck and I do is we'll go ahead and do just random live sessions where we're doing a class on a particular topic that maybe we see within the group that is needed, where we're actually going over the top of people's work from the group, giving them feedback, the very same feedback that I'm talking about here in this live presentation, and and giving them the direction that they're after. That's what the How to Draw Comics Inner Circle is about. And because it's fairly tight knit, and it's not a huge size because we don't offer it in many of our products. We don't just allow anybody to join. It's people who have either jumped into the How to Draw Comics Omnibus or this Character Creator Workshop. This is the second time that we've actually offered it with a product as a bonus too. And so that's made it a very tight knit group that is super focused on improving. And because it's tight knit, we're able to interact with everybody, most people within the group when they post their work. We're able to give them that feedback and commentary on what's going right, what's going wrong, how they could improve, how they could, where they could take it next. Now, as far as the Character Creator Workshop itself, it's not just a course. It's actually a live interactive learning experience. Now, yes, you'll get to keep the recordings of every session from the workshop. It covers 3 days of intense learning. You'll have the weekend, one weekend, we'll do Saturday and Sunday. And then the following week, on a Saturday or a Sunday, we'll dedicate that entire day to just getting your character and the quality of it up a few notches. I'll be sitting there for as long as it takes, going over each and every student's work with a fine-tooth comb to find the exact areas that they could focus on to see maximum improvement within their character drawing abilities. Okay, so that's built into the character creation workshop. At the end of every session, we dedicate an entire hour to doing the exact same thing. So on the first day of the character creation workshop, we're covering fundamentals. So proportions, anatomy, posing your characters with movement and aliveness. And then we're also getting into how to actually brainstorm some interesting and unique character design ideas so that your character isn't just another character in the crowd, but actually stands out as something which is impactful visually, something that's iconic, something that people remember. Okay, so there's that on the first day. That's why it goes for 4 to 6 hours. It's huge. Now you won't be getting a video file that big, but I'll be breaking it up into each of the different sections throughout the workshop to make sure that it's manageable for you to rewatch and go back through if and when needed, whenever needed. Okay, so you can review this workshop as many times as you want, but the really valuable aspect of it is the first time you do it, it's all live. You can ask me anything you want. Write down your questions, your biggest sticking points, your greatest challenges, and you'll have my personal attention and direction to help you solve and pass those obstacles. That's once again why I think this is the best way to learn. The future of online learning, it needs to happen. Courses and books, they're great. And I love them. I'm working on a new How to Draw Comics book right now, all about foundations, and they're wonderful as a reference. There's something that you can refer back to, easily find your place, and get what you need. But in terms of deep learning, deep evolution as an artist, you really need that direction, that guidance from an experienced professional, someone who's been in the trenches, who's seen all the ways in which a character can be drawn wrong and knows how to solve them, knows how to get you back to where you need to be, to get you back on track so that you don't get stuck. Someone who's not just going to abandon you when you run into problems. I mean, how often do you get through a course? If you get through a course, that's the other thing is a course is just in general less engaging. When you sign up to the Character Creator Workshop, you're held accountable. Okay, it's happening. So you're going to turn up. What else are you going to do? You're going to turn up to the workshop. You're going to be there, and most importantly, as I'm going through the process of everything that goes into a well drawn character, you'll be following along, executing the steps real time. How cool is that? So at the end of every session, you'll have something to show for it. How often is that the case with courses? Obviously, a lot of the time that can be the case. But for me personally, a lot of the courses that I've invested in, there's maybe been two or three good ones where I've really taken every word to heart and I've sat down and I've done the work, but I haven't done that in a long time. There's so many other distractions these days, and for me to really make progress, I'd need to be involved in a workshop such as this. That's why I love webinars because webinars are live, right? So they're happening at a specific time, a specific date. You jump into them, and if you're not there, you miss out on that live interactive experience. And so you're going to be compelled to turn up to each and every one of these sessions throughout the Character Creator Workshop. There's three big ones. You'll be sitting there, you'll be grinding it out, smashing out a full comic book character by the end, and getting the feedback you need to move forward beyond the Character Creator Workshop. And I'm also going to give you tools to help you figure out where the problems are within your character creations. Okay, so when you are sitting there scratching your head, wondering what the heck is going wrong, I'm going to show you how to diagnose those problems and get rid of them, erase them, and surpass them. That's what I do on a daily basis with my own stuff. If it wasn't for my ability to make mistakes, but also because making mistakes is important, that's what gets you going in the right direction. Just the mere ability to be able to recognize mistakes when you make them. And then how to proceed once you're coming up against those mistakes. How do you tackle them? How do you move past them? What's the next step? Where does artistic intuition come into play? It's such an airy fairy idea, artistic intuition, but how do you practically activate it within yourself? How do you develop the eye that you need, that an experienced artist has, in order to be able to spot where things are going wrong within your work before your drawing is completely doomed and you have to throw it out completely? What portions of the character creation process do you have to pay the most attention to in order to avoid the big mistakes, plunging your character illustration into complete chaos? Because there are specific portions of the process that need more attention than others. There's parts of it where you can completely relax and have fun, but there are some that require special attention. And I'm going to reveal all of that within the character creation workshop, of course. It's huge. I'm expecting it to be at least 18 hours long, all up, when you combine the days together and the hours that are going into it. So the amount of information that you're going to be getting, I mean, it could speed up your development as an artist months, years. This is knowledge that I've collected over multiple decades that I use. If it wasn't for this knowledge, I wouldn't be able to do what it is I do. I've taken it from different places. I've developed my own strategies. I've learned from the people that I've taught what to do and what not to do. There have been students that have surpassed me, that have gotten better. I've started learning from them. That's what's amazing about this this kind of experience, is you get to watch students grow. You get to see how they improve and progress. You get to see their art evolve and get better and better substantially. Now, you're not going to walk away from the character creator workshop being able to draw perfect characters in one shot within 3 days. You will walk away with a character, but what you're also going to be getting is the direction you need in order to be able to improve upon them. And because of that, your learning curve is going to be significantly shortcut. Okay, it's not going to take you as long to progress as it will for most other artists, because you'll have the feedback there. You'll have the attention and the direction you need to proceed down the right course, down the right path. Gonna have a sip of my coffee here. Doing a lot of talking. Very typical of me. All right. We've got Chris Graves. Hey, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Thank you, my friend. Love Dragon Ball Z. Big fan. James Murphy, what's going on? We've got Saiyan Rick in the house. Joe Clayton. I'm well versed in character creation, but I'm always striving to learn more from courses. But Q&A, should I spend every day doing comic pages using my characters to improve storytelling? Should I spend every day doing comic book pages using my characters to improve storytelling? Absolutely, you should. It depends. I think that sometimes, depending on how your comic book pages are turning out, it's good to break it down into specific areas of focus and attend to each one. Ideally, rolling them into a project such as a fully fledged comic book page. So, what I mean by that is, if you've got some weaknesses with your characters, spend a little bit of time really focusing in on them. Figure out exactly what it is within your characters that isn't quite clicking, that could do with a little bit more time and attention as far as getting better at the various aspects of it. Figure out what those aspects are. Once you've got those sorted, then you can start to place them into a scene, all right? How do you go at doing that? Can you place a character into a scene, make it look like that character is a part of that scene? Maybe you need a little bit of time focusing in just on backgrounds, getting your perspective ship shape. Okay, there's multiple components to a comic book page, and each one requires specialized attention and time taken to really study up on it in order to be able to execute a full comic book page to the best degree of ability possible. I would say that it's good to do both, though. That once you've focused on characters for a while, see how you go incorporating them into a full comic book page. It might not be perfect still, doesn't matter, because you're taking what you've been learning with that focused attention on the characters and you're actually applying it within the context of what they're ultimately going to be used for. And that's the big problem that a lot of artists face, especially when they're just starting out, is they're learning about proportions, they're learning about anatomy, and they're getting really good at the components that it would take in order to be able to draw a good comic book character, but they're never actually drawing a character within the context that they're supposed to be drawn in. They're drawing it within the context of what you might see in the hospital when you look at an anatomy chart. They're drawing it in the context of like a Greek statue, but they don't know how to move the character around on the page. They don't know how to have that character express. They don't know how to make the character interact with other characters throughout the page. They don't know how to make them look real and alive and convincing and relatable. These are, again, really nuanced considerations that a lot of us don't think about until later on, but later play a really huge role in whether or not we're able to execute characters to a high degree of success. Yeah, that's what sets comic artists apart from almost every other artist, is that they're able to tell a story with their characters. They're able to bring their characters to life. That's what's amazing about comic books. It gives us the opportunity to really do that. Yeah, you know what? This tutorial isn't this character creator workshop. It's not just a tutorial. It's something that you can sign up for right now, and it's a live learning experience. Okay, so we're going to be catching up, you and I, if you sign up to this, Edith, and we're going to be drawing comic book characters together. I'm going to be showing you the ropes, guiding you through the entire process. Hello, Lucienne Miranda. How you doing? Good to see you. Let's have a look here. All right, Grey Wolf says, yep, great, good to know. It's the Jester says, QQ. I'm working on an animated show, but I don't know what accessories or computer I need to have to work on it and save it digitally. What are some accessories that you use? Okay, you're working on an animated show. Well, I believe that you can animate in both in Photoshop. Can you animate in Manga Studio? I'm not an animator, unfortunately, so I'm not entirely sure. But there are a bunch of digital drawing applications out there that you could certainly use to draw the frames, the cells of your animation. The main one I use is the aforementioned Clip Studio Paint and Photoshop, both really good applications. The the actual tablet that I use is a Wacom Intuos 3, so it's quite an old tablet, but you could grab any tablet from Wacom and it's probably going to work pretty well for you. In terms of specs for your computer, Ideally, you want a decent amount of RAM just so that you can work at a fairly high resolution. The last thing you want is low resolution output of your illustrations when you save out the images themselves. So you want to work at a decent size resolution, 600, 300 to 600 DPI if you can. And that'll stop any pixelization happening, any lowering of quality when you decide to save your work out. You need a lot of RAM to be able to do that. Otherwise, your computer will start lagging. Your system resources will go out the window. Holy hand grenades. Yo, Clayton and Chad. Good to see you. Giardo from Italy. Arduino from Italy, I should say. Okay, Alpha Proto says, do you have a course on dynamic paneling? All the books on comics I read want to play it safe, but that seems old fashioned. I want a do dynamic paneling. Yeah, easy to read pages. So what I'm going to be doing throughout the next few weeks is setting up a whole bunch of different workshops. So it's not just going to be the character creator workshop, but it's also going to be workshops on backgrounds and scenery, and also sequential storytelling, which is what you're talking about here, actually laying out a comic book page, telling a story from one panel to the next. And what you're talking about here, that more dynamic paneling from the image era, man, that's the exact type of comic book that I used to love to read as a kid. And it is how I lay out my panels as well. So there's a number of different ways in which you can do it. You can use the very neat, uniform, tidily laid out grid, which it sounds like you're trying to avoid. You want to break away from that more traditional method of laying out a comic book page and to get some of those overlapping panels happening. Now you're right, they can be very confusing to lay out and have make sense, but there is a trajectory of readability that you can strategically incorporate into the organization of those panels that will allow for a readable page that's great to look at, that engages you, that pulls you into the story, but doesn't leave you feeling confused or unable to make sense of what it is that's going on. So I'll be definitely incorporating that into the future workshop where we'll be focused purely on sequential storytelling. Yep. Clip Studio Paint is industry standard, so you can animate in that, right? Sweet. John, yes, it is a cool stream. Chris Graves says, I've been a member of Clayton's How to Draw Comics group for years. He's an amazing instructor. You will not be disappointed. Thanks so much, Chris Graves. I really do appreciate that. You're too kind, my friend. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's not just a course, though, it's a full workshop. So, in other words, what I mean by workshop is when you enroll in it, you're going to leave with an actual character that you've created, that I've given you feedback, draw overs, and critiques on. This is what I do all the time for the other students that I mentor, for my brother Corey, for anybody really, for the comic books in which I'm an editor. What I'll do is I'll actually go the extra mile and I'll go over the top of the artist's pages and give them guidance on the exact corrections they can make in order to ramp up the artwork, in order to make it better, in order to push a lot of So let me talk about the common problems that I often that I often see within artwork, and by professional comic book illustrators. One of the main things that comes up again and again is lack of expression through characters. If you want your audience to relate with the characters within your book, if you want them to feel what it is they're feeling, to have a proper grip on the context of the oftentimes extreme situations that are unfolding, then you need to convey it through your characters, through their facial expressions, through their body language. It is insane how much is communicated through body language and facial expressions. We call this nonverbal communication. In fact, only like 10% of our overall communication as human beings is actually verbal. So that means that the speech bubbles within your comic books really don't count for a whole lot. What matters is the way in which you're presenting those characters. So you want to be as conscious of the positioning of their body, the way in which they're posed, their facial expressions, and the way in which you've communicated what they're thinking, how they're feeling, not only in the moment when they're by themselves, but also toward other characters. You know, if some situation goes down within the comic book, some serious situation between a bunch of characters, they can interpret that situation in a ton of different ways. How do you how do you show that? You know, you've got to have that variation, that ability to dynamically express a range of feelings, a range of emotional context through your characters. It's so important. If you can't do that, it doesn't matter how well you can draw anatomy, it doesn't matter how perfectly proportioned your characters are. It's it's simply not going to matter. They're just going to look good, but they're not going to feel real. They're not going to feel believable. And more than that, because the story is being told through your characters, the reader isn't going to understand how they're supposed to feel in the situation that's unfolding for the characters. Have you ever noticed how you'll look to other people in any given in any given situation to figure out how you're supposed to feel and how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to behave, and what you're supposed to think? Many of us do this all the time. In fact, that's that's one of the reasons we don't go crazy in church, for example. you know, we sit quietly, we're in a very respectful manner, and we listen to a sermon that's going on. I haven't been to church in a while, so I'm going from memory here. Or, but then you act very differently at a house party than you would in church because of the other people around you. But I can guarantee you that if the people at that house party were all acting as if they were in church, sitting quietly down in a respectful manner, you wouldn't be sitting there dancing and yelling and carrying on. You'd feel compelled to do the exact same thing. We look at the most minute facial cues on somebody through somebody's features in order to gauge whether or not they're an enemy, whether or not they're a friend, whether or not they're a foe, and once more, how we should feel. It's called state transference. Usually, when someone is feeling angry or mad, you'll you'll either start to feel intimidated in response to that because you'll see it, it'll come across even if they don't say anything, or you'll get mad and angry as well. But you won't sit there happily not being affected whatsoever. Okay, so your characters within your comic book should cause people to feel something. Something which is directly related, ideally, to the situation that is unfolding for them in the story. How they're feeling is the way that you should feel. If that's not coming across clearly, then you're not effectively telling your story through the characters. And they're the main storytelling vehicle, as I mentioned before, when it comes to comics. John, yes, it's not a course, it's a lifestyle. It will be for at least 3 days. Look, it's hardcore. Okay, this character creator workshop. It's it's not just something that's going to go for an hour and that's it. It's over and done with. You forget about it. No way. This is immersive. It's intense, and you can think of it more like a boot camp than anything else, where you'll be learning a ton of information, applying it all the best you can, and then getting exact feedback. Okay, that's fashioned completely around your artwork and you as an artist in order to be able to ensure that you're implementing it properly. And if you're not, what to do in order to get it right. Now, many of the draw overs and the advice that I give you throughout the workshop, you'll be able to take with you into the future. You'll be able to work on that stuff, practice it, and you'll know that the time you're investing in practicing it isn't going to be a waste. It's actually going to lead somewhere. You could try a bunch of different things to try and move forward, to get better, to find whatever next level it is you're supposed to get to. But you're flying blind most of the time. I know because I'm exactly where you are. Or I've been where you are. And who is there to tell you how it should be done? I've got most of my friends work in IT for some reason. I have no idea why. Some of them are tradies. The last thing that they would know anything about, that they would have any expertise on whatsoever, is drawing comic books. Okay, so and then sure you can reach out to people online and ask for their advice, and that's great. But do you know what's even better is actually having the opportunity to do a workshop with them where they can help you out real time, where they can show you exactly what it is they do to get the results that they're able to execute real time, where you can ask them, where you can pick apart exactly what it is they're doing and figure it out. John says, "This is what my brain is always thinking about. Is this course also applicable to writers or just artists?" Well, it's going to teach you how to draw, but I'll be going over, you know, when it comes to, obviously, we're not going to be, when it comes to the stuff that we will be covering in the workshop, one of the biggest aspects of it is going to be storytelling through posing, through expression. This, as I said, in a visual context, is the greatest, most prominent form of storytelling that you'll get in a comic book. So, in that capacity, sure. Now, if a writer decides to jump into this workshop for one reason or another, they're going to get a taste of the techniques that need to be executed in order to draw a character effectively. But they're also going to get a ton of knowledge that they could use to direct the artists that they hire for their books. They'll have clarity. They'll be able to see whether or not the artist is doing their job properly, whether or not they're actually conveying the story in the most effective way possible. This is all about shining light on the areas within your art or the artists that you're working with that you never knew were there. This can include the mistakes that they're making or the things that they're leaving out entirely that you didn't realize. This is why we start out as beginners, because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what the right way is to do things. We don't even know what the wrong ways are not to do things. And so we go through this process of learning where slowly but surely we gain the experience, we gain the wisdom to be able to recognize that stuff. And the quicker you can recognize it, the earlier you can recognize it, the less of a chance you have of running your project into the ground, whether it be a character or a full comic book. One of the worst things that you can ever encounter as an artist is having to completely redo your character after you've taken the time to render it out, add in all the details, and polish it off because of a fundamental error that you just were not aware of, where you notice all of a sudden that the proportions are completely off. What do you do in that situation? What can you do? You've got to erase the whole thing and just start again. That's the only thing that's left to do because you have to resize everything. You have to scale it up properly. Now, maybe it's just a single arm, if you're lucky, that's a little too short or a little too long. But if you've rendered out that arm, if you've lit it, if you polished it off, man, that sucks. Whereas if you're able to catch it on that foundational stage, which is what I'm going to show you how to do, during the character creation process, you'll save your time. You'll save yourself time and so much heartache later on down the track. The process will go smoother. Errors that you encounter will be easier to fix. So, in the beginning, let me just break it down for you real quick. The biggest problems with your art will always come about in the beginning. If there's a major issue with your character that's going to completely tank it, it's going to occur in the early stages. A lot of people don't see them. They keep going, they keep on correcting, and they keep on trying to polish things up because they think that that's going to make a difference. They think it's a surface higher than it actually is, but it's deep, man. It's right at the core. That's where the biggest problems are going to lie when it comes to character illustration. The minute problems that you encounter, guess what? You're only going to come up against them, and they're easy to fix later on when you're onto the detailing stage or the design stage. I often find the design stage the most fun portion of the character creation process, simply because you get to be creative. You get to mess around a little bit, play around with the silhouettes, the shape of the character. See, as I was saying, yeah, the detailing, that's not a big deal. If you mess up the detailing, you just erase the little detail that you've added in. But the cool thing is that if those details and that rendering is placed in on top of a solid foundation that's measured and scaled and posed correctly, then you don't have to think about any of that stuff anymore. That's why we build it up in different passes. That's why we break down, well, that's why we break down the process. I'm getting a bit excited there. We break down the process because it allows us to solve the issues on every level that we might come up against throughout the character creation workflow. I love this stuff. Like, drawing comic book characters, designing characters, it's one of my greatest passions. It's one of the things I love most about drawing out of everything else because characters are just so expressive. And so I've looked into this stuff. I've gone through my own issues. I've seen the issues that student after student has faced and still faces in my mentoring sessions. And I can tell you that after you've seen that much, after you've seen that many mistakes, that many things go wrong, you've come from the school of hard knocks at that point, either through your own experiences or through seeing others go through the exact same thing. And so a lot of the things that I'm going to be passing on to you in this character creator workshop are the mistakes to avoid. What obstacles are going to come up for you so that you already know about them before you may ever have to face them. And if you have faced them, I'm going to give you the solutions that you need to be able to solve them. And this has worked for many of the people that I've mentored, taught, and worked with over the years. Just ask Corey, my brother, who comes onto these streams sometimes. What I taught him as far as the female body is concerned was a complete game changer for him. And people noticed. Okay, people saw it immediately. His female comic book characters changed, they shifted, they were significantly upgraded. And it was amazing to watch that happen. I want the same thing for you. I mean, if you're drawing the ladies, then great. You'll be able to draw, hopefully, by the end of the creator workshop, you'll be able to draw better female comic book characters. If it's your superheroes, better male characters. There's so much more to this than just anatomy and proportions. Okay, I've recently, in recent years, come to the realization that everything's about shape. I mean, how crazy is that? That just shape alone can suggest all the anatomy that you could ever need to incorporate within your character alone on its own. If you don't have shape sorted, and you can see the effectiveness of shape in the artwork of great artists such as Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri, the intensity of the shape that they use to outline the anatomy of their characters with is vivid. It's striking, pulls you in. It's not meek, it's not weak. It leaves a visual impression that is part of the reason as to why their art is so desirable in the first place. You can't just be good at drawing in order to be an artist that is remembered. Doesn't that suck a little bit? But it's true. Okay, there's something more to it than that. There's your unique identifier. It is your style to an extent, but it's also the heart and soul that you put into a character. It's the energy behind it. Getting a little bit of airy fairy language here, but it truly is the case that if you don't have that energy behind your work, it's difficult for it to stand out amid the crowd, because anyone can learn how to draw, anyone can learn anatomy and fundamentals, but the people that really succeed, they do something special with it. And a lot of those things, a lot of the key areas that they work on, I'm going to be revealing exactly what those are within the Character Creator Workshop. The things that I've learned, the things that I've taken with me and passed on to other people, and it's worked for them as well. So now I'm taking it out there to the rest of the world. I'm showing them how it's done. This is your opportunity to jump in and experience it, to get that know-how under your belt so that you can finally start executing the same level of character that I'm talking about here, so that people actually start taking notice of your work, so that it's not just another illustration that's scrolled past on social media. Something that gets the likes and the comments, sure, but something most importantly that is remembered, that is of some significance. Just imagine for a moment if you were able to draw characters that conjured up the same level of excitement and fanfare that the characters drawn by your favorite artists do for you. Imagine that. That people who love your art might go to bed thinking about it and waking up looking forward to that next piece you're going to do. that they might hunt around the internet trying to find every single piece of art that you've ever drawn before just because they love it so much. We want to share our art with the world. And one of the reasons as to why we appreciate approval, why we want that approval, is because we don't want to be sharing crap with the rest of the world. We want to be sharing our very best work, and we want it to be the best, most appreciated, treasured gift that we can possibly give. And so that's what we're learning how to do. We're trying to create the kind of artwork that we're going to share with the world that is cherished, that lasts generations, that stands the test of time, something that is immortalized once we create it, something that someone might come across long after we're dead, and our art is still here, that can be appreciated in that time. Just think about all the artwork that has come and gone over the years, that was created by artists who were just, maybe in some comic book studio on the conveyor belt, churning out comic book page after comic book page without putting any real effort in. Or the many artists that tried their hand at this stuff and just didn't see progress fast enough. It was so slow for them, they lost motivation. They just thought that they didn't have enough talent, that it wasn't for them. I was there at one point within my own artistic journey. You look at all these other amazing artists that are around you, and you're looking at the amount of progress that you're making, and it's just not happening for you. It's just not progressing to the point at which it should be. It's crazy to think about, isn't it? So that's one of the reasons as to why I think this character creation workshop is going to be incredibly valuable for you, is because you are going to see that progress, and it's going to encourage you to push yourself even harder. You're going to see that it's possible. You're going to realize that, wow, this really doesn't come down to talent at all. This comes down to my motivation, the drive to pursue something that I'm truly passionate about long and hard enough, and going in the right direction, that it's inevitable I see the kind of success that I'm striving for within my art. Because progress is encouraging. It's the best form of encouragement that we can get. If I can give you that in this character creator workshop, and I'm pretty sure that I can, I'm confident that it'd be impossible for your characters to still be at the same level by the end of this character creator workshop. If you're taking what I'm saying to heart, if you're using the processes that I'm showing you and taking on board the feedback that I'm giving you, it'll be impossible for you not to improve, not to make that rapid progress that I'm talking about. And even if you're not perfect, it's not about being perfect. It's never been about being perfect. I'm not perfect yet. No one is perfect. The moment that an artist thinks they're perfect, it's the moment that they stop growing. It's a constant journey of growth. That's what we're talking about here. Constant evolution. It's the video game that never ends. There's always a new challenge to tackle, a new boss to fight when it comes to comic book art. But if you can see that you're that little bit better, that you've made that progress, it's like building momentum. It speeds up. You get on the right road and you're rolling down it and you're pushing the accelerator down. And you're seeing that your artwork is improving faster and faster simply because you're on the right road now, going in the right direction. You don't want to be pressing down the accelerator, going in the opposite direction to what you should be going in. Follow one process. Follow the process that I'm going to be giving you here in this character creator workshop, because it works. It's consistently worked for me. I use it for a reason on a daily basis because it does work and it works for other people. It's used within the comic book industry. A lot of what I know, I've just learned from other killer artists like David Finch. I mean, I learned a lot of what I am able to do now from David Finch. I wouldn't be the artist that I am today. Now, of course, I've taken and cultivated my process from a range of different sources, but he was a main one, no doubt about it. But that's the thing is that when you sign up to the Character Creator Workshop, which is, I've got a link to that, by the way, if you don't already know, it's linked in the chat there, pinned to the top. Where was I? Oh, yeah. That's right. What you're going to do is you're going to take a lot of what I've got to teach you in this Character Creator Workshop, and you're going to build upon it yourself. You're going to give it your own spin. You're going to push it forward and evolve it in your own way. So this is going to be the beginning for you, but it's somewhat of a new beginning. If you've reached a plateau, or you're just not able to draw at the level you'd like to be drawing at, if you want to simply take your drawings from being good to great, then I truly believe that this program can make the difference for you. Jump into it and check out the landing page that I've done up for you. Just hit the link in the chat there. And the other thing that you're going to notice, besides all the stuff that you get in this Character Creator Workshop, all the bonuses, is that it's got a 30-day money back guarantee. So the worst thing that can possibly happen is that you get nothing out of the workshop, and you get it free anyway. So you don't lose anything. Just message me, just say it wasn't what you thought it would be, and I'll give you the refund. It's a click of a button. That's it. The thing is that I never get refunds, but if for some reason you take a gamble on this Character Creator Workshop and you don't get out of it what you were hoping to get out of it, then the refund's there. So there's nothing to lose. I'm taking the hit for you. I'm taking all of the risk. So if you sign up today and you get your spot, remember there's only 9 spots, so they're extremely limited. But if you sign up today and you get in and you can be a part of this experience, this live online learning experience, where you'll see exactly how the character creation process unfolds in a great degree of detail. I mean, how many opportunities have you had to be able to sit there and get a deep education that runs for 4 to 6 hours on the exact key things that you need to consider and execute when it comes to creating a solid, sturdy, ironclad comic book character that looks good, that looks awesome, right? Let's not mix words here. We want an awesome looking character that looks cool, right? A character that invokes some level of excitement and joy in people when they look at it. So that's what I'm promising you within the Character Creator Workshop. I'm going to give you the tools to be able to do that. And if you're not quite there yet, I'm going to give you the direction that you need in order to be able to do it. The exact things that you can practice and work on in order to get to that point. Nothing else is going to give you that. Nothing else will make that opportunity available to you. You can't get it in a course. You can't get it from a tutorial or a YouTube video. You can't get it from a lecture. And honestly, the cost of this Character Creator Workshop is just so low that I mean it's a steal. You know, for the same kind of workshop, for the same kind of learning experience, you're looking at upwards of $600 at least. What you'll pay for this Character Creator Workshop is nowhere near that. And for the amount that you're going to get out of it, the years that you might speed up your learning from doing this character creation workshop, there's no better investment to make. There's nothing better than investing in your passions, in what it is that fulfills you on a day-to-day basis, truly fulfills you. I mean, where would we be without our craft? I don't know what I'd be doing otherwise. And so, in terms of what I think is worth investing in, is there's nothing more important than that. All right, let me get through some more of these questions here. All right, John, how you doing? John, how you doing? We've got Rick Saylor. Hey, how you doing, my friend? John, what is an example of what can tank a character? Okay, the the main things that can tank a character completely decimate them and cause you to have to throw out the entire thing. There's a few. One of the main ones is either the pose or the proportions of your character, and also the foreshortening for that matter, because foreshortening and proportions are fairly heavily connected. I mean, foreshortening, proportions, and poses. I mean, it really encompasses all three of them, the trinity that you have to master. And if you don't master it, then it doesn't matter how much you try to pretty it up later on down the track beyond that point. Drawing's tanked. Okay, you're just going to be wasting your time because you'll be working over the top of a flawed foundation. Okay, so you got to get that right. Proportions, pose, placement, foreshortening. And then after that, the other thing that can sort of mess up your drawing irreparably is bad anatomy. And now it's a little bit easier to fix than bad proportions, but it's still a pain. And there's a good chance that you may not be able to fix it without a considerable amount of time being wasted if you catch it too late. So those are the main things, I would say. The way in which you compose your character on the page, again, the placement is probably another big one. All right, Black Dragon Comics says, just experienced this problem this morning. I did a fan art of a dragon, and only after I did inks did I notice the wing was sitting above where it should be. Yep. Don't worry, Black Dragon Comics. I feel your pain. We've all been there before. You are not alone in that regard. And it burns, it hurts, and you kick yourself for not realizing it earlier. Michael, hey, says, please, can you recap what Character Creator Workshop is about? I'm just connecting. We've got a link to it pinned in the top of the chat. You can also go to howtodrawcomics.net. I've got the workshop available on there in the menu now. So you can jump in and claim your spot. But essentially, what it is here. Let me actually share the page. I've got it right here. Okay, there we go. Character Creator Workshop. I'll just turn off the chat overlay for a moment. Character Creator Workshop, overview of what exactly it is. Construct, design, and refine your own comic book characters. Within 3 days, you'll learn how to construct characters with bang-on proportions, vivid shape, and awesome anatomy. Draw characters with powerful poses that pack a wallop. create unique and memorable and badass character designs. You'll also get pro techniques to outline, detail, texture, and render your characters. You'll discover the key areas of improvement you can make to upgrade your characters from meh to amazing. Okay, and if you go to this page at howtodrawcomics.net // character creator workshop, it'll cover in great detail exactly what you can expect to get from this workshop. Okay, there's tons of stuff here, including examples of some of the characters I've designed in the past. This is what some of my work used to look like. As you can see, messed up proportions and pose here, completely broken. An arm that is very much too long here on this lovely lady. You can see her elbow coming all the way down here. Just crazy. And let me not even get started on this ape looking lady that I've drawn up with arms that are way too long. This demon guy is pretty cool though. But yeah, talking about some of my past in the classroom, teaching students, what I learned from them, what I realized they needed more than anything else in order to really see proper results within their work. And then down here, we'll go through the details of what you can expect in each of the three sessions that you'll be engaged in throughout the workshop. So on day one, we cover foundations. On day two, we focus on actually creating your character. Okay, so we're going to be developing an idea and everything, covering anatomy, proportions, and whatnot on day one. And then we take all of that with us and we actually apply it to a finished character concept. And then on day three, it's completely dedicated to questions, answers, and feedback. And this is what I believe is the most valuable part of the entire workshop. Okay, so remember, this is all live, this is interactive. Okay, this isn't a pre recorded course. You'll be doing this live with me. You'll be creating your character. You'll have a character by the end of it. And then beyond that, essentially what you'll be getting is a bunch of bonuses. So, proportions course, superheroines course, and access to the VIP and VIP access to the How to Draw Comics in a Circle, super valuable. And then, yeah, there's a bunch of here's the guarantee too. And then finally, down the bottom here, we have a bunch of Q&A, just in case you've got any questions in regards to the tools you'll need, how long the workshop goes for, who will be instructing. That's going to be me, obviously, but is it suitable for beginners, that kind of stuff. So again, you can access this page right now and book via howtodrawcomics.net / character creator workshop. All right, we've got Leonardo here. How you doing? Comic Book Bob says Rob Liefeld is a good example of that. Not the best artist, but crazy level of energy. Yeah, man. I mean, isn't that nuts? That even though Rob Liefeld was certainly no master at anatomy or proportions or anything like that, he had enough there to go with, of course, in that capacity. But what there was something else that really made his artwork desirable. It was that energy. Was the expression, and he sold a lot of books because of it. Okay, we've got Michael here. Says, please. Yep, yep. We've addressed that question. Okay. Sweet. All right, guys. Well, that pretty much gives you an overview of the character creation workshop, or the character creator workshop, rather, and what you can expect to get from it. So remember, visit www.howtodrawcomics.net/character creator workshop, and you'll find all the details you need right there to inform you on whether or not this is going to be of a benefit to you and the quality of your character drawings. We'll probably do a few more live videos like this, just talking about different aspects of character creation. I think this is super informative and really fun to do. So, yeah, well, until then, take care, good luck, and I'll see you very soon. Keep on drawing, keep on creating, as always. Bye bye for now.